Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Alright, we're live. And as you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be working on drawing shapes again in C++. That's the last stream, the stream before that, and the stream before that. I did go over drawing shapes in in C++ using SDL as well. That's it. I'm planning to wrap it up and complete and all the drawing content in it. And then next stream I might move on to something new. That said, let's go to my gameplay screen. Okay, perfect. Let me check if this is covering the entire screen. Alright, let's say something like, let's say, live exclamation. Guys, let me actually decrease the volume from here. There we go. So you're back with the battlefield, people. Listen up, chat. The legend returns. Vivek is back, armed with C++ and fire in his eyes. We've been conquering SDL3 bit by bit, learning to command pixels and shape the screen like true digital sorcerers. Today isn't just another stream, it's another step towards building that AI-powered game universe we've been talking about. Every line of code you write is a brick in your future empire. Okay, people, so stay sharp, focus hard, and don't you dare waste a single frame of this stream. Now tell me, what are we unleashing today and drawing shapes, adding motion, or something more destructive? Guys, I forgot, I didn't say what I'm going to be doing, because this is the chat from yesterday. That said, let's say something like, let's say, today I want to work on drawing shapes as well, ... That said, can we start off by reviewing how to draw a rectangle, and then we can draw a line, and then we can move on to the new shape. Okay, guys, that did sound like kind of vague. That's an excellent strategy, people. You want to strengthen your foundation before building higher. That's exactly how masters are forged. Guys, give me a sec. Let me just get this lower. There we go. Okay, hello. Why do you stream at midnight? Guys, it's actually at midnight for me. It's like almost 2 p.m. for me. That said, alright, let's review rectangles first. In SDL3, rectangles are represented using SDL3, okay, floating point rex. Okay, I do know honestly everything. Okay, let's see the instructions. Write a program that draws a filled rectangle at a position of 200 with a width of 200 and a height of 150. Draws a blue outline rectangle right around it. Make it just slightly bigger. Width, okay, 210, height 160, position at 195 and 195. So the red one sits perfectly inside it. I see. Yo, what's good? How you doing, Ayana? Appreciate you joining the stream. That said, okay, let me actually get Sensei/ChatGPT, the other monitor, so I can see the instructions. Then maybe just zoom out a bit there. Okay, perfect. And now, guys, this is the code from last stream because I didn't have time to work on this off stream. That's it. Let's start off by deleting everything. Now, firstly, let me go ahead and include a pair of anchor braces. I want to include IO stream. And then since I am going to be working with SDL3, I'm going to be including SDL3 and also SDL's header file. So I'll go with something like SDL.h. I'm assuming the H is actually header files. You guys could fact check me. That said, now let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'll go ahead and create or type something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. Now, inside of our main functions, I am going to be adding two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character of argv, which is going to be honestly going to be an array. And then let's go ahead and add a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of our pair of curly braces, firstly, let's go ahead and initialize SDL and get myself an error if SDL wasn't initialized properly. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses SDL underscore init, okay, with a pair of parentheses SDL underscore init underscore video. What this basically is it's like a boolean value that returns 0 if SDL is initialized. Although I want to initialize it, but also check if it is not initialized properly. So I'll just add an exclamation here. Now what this says is if this thing did not return 0, then I'm going to do something. Firstly, I'll go with the pair of curly braces. And then let's say that's something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. This is going to say something like SDL underscore init error. Okay, and then I'm going to be adding another pair of another insertion operator. Now I'm going to give myself an error. So I'll go with the SDL underscore get error with a pair of parentheses. Lastly, I'll go with a standard end line ending with a semicolon. And honestly, I will actually return one as well, saying something went wrong in this block of code. Okay, now that I've initialized my SDL, let's go ahead and Let's say create a window and a renderer. Window is basically the display that pops up in the screen, and renderer is like a paintbrush that you can use to like color stuff in your window. Okay, that's it. I'll add a comment that says something like create window and renderer. Okay, now for creating my window and renderer, since I am going to be creating both of them at the same time, I am going to be creating two different variables first. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore window with an asterisk. This is going to be having a window variable, which is going to be set to something like null PDR for the time being. Null PDR is basically like a placeholder. That said, I'll go with something like a standard renderer as well with an asterisk as a pointer to my renderer object or my renderer variable, guys. I'm so used to calling these things object. And honestly, is it like a structure? Wait, let me actually check. What up, guys? What's wrong with my typos? There we go. Okay, my renderer is going to be set to null PDR as well, a placeholder. Now, I just want to see, is this a structure? This is a struct. Okay, so I'm going to be calling this a structure instead of an object. Next up, now that we've created the variables, let's actually create our window and our renderer. To do that, we could go ahead and type the function that's called something like SDL underscore create window and renderer. Guys, I still feel like these function names are way bigger than they actually should be. Okay, now my create window and render function is going to be requiring, let's say how many parameters. It's going to be requiring 5 parameters. The first parameter is going to be title, second is width, third is height. Okay, fourth is window flag. Okay, it's going to be requiring 6 parameters. Okay, the first parameter is going to be a title. So let's go ahead and add my SDL3 window title. And then I'll add a comma. Now I'll need a width and a height for my window. I'll go with the width. I'll go with 800 as my width and 600 as my height. Now for my flag, if I don't want to set like a specific flag, I could go with 0. Although I do want my window resizable. So I'll go ahead and set the flag as something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable. There we go. And then I'll add a comma. Now lastly, I'm going to be needing to add my window structure here, or is this considered in, I think it says a local variable. So my local window variable and my local renderer variables is memory address. So I could go with the address of operator or a ampersand for my window and a ampersand or a address of operator for my renderer. There we go. Okay, and then lastly, let's go ahead and end this entire thing with a semicolon. Okay, now that I've created a window and renderer, let's check if it didn't create properly. I'm going to throw myself an error if it did. So I'll go with something like an if statement, if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if not window, if my windows is a local variable did not return 0. Or let's say not renderer, if my renderers is local variable did not return 0, means something went wrong. I'm going to throw myself an error. So I'll go with something like a standard C error, okay, with an insertion operator. This is going to have like a massive name. Honestly, I think I should go in a new line for this big name. So I'll go in a new line, add an insertion operator here. Okay, that says something like SDL underscore. Let's go with something like create window and renderer error. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to get the create SDL underscore create window and renderer error. And then I'll add another insertion operator that actually gets me an error. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore get error with a pair of parentheses to invoke the function. Lastly, let's go with a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, if either my window or my renderer did not render properly, firstly, I'm going to be exiting my SDL. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. And then I'll return one saying that something went wrong here. Take a look at this part of code. Yo, hiding APT, or is it pronounced as up? I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, now that I've actually checked this, let's see what's the next thing that I should create. Since I am creating windows, I might actually create like, whatchamacallit, let's go with something like a comment that says something like object details or shape details to shape details. Okay, now for my shape details, firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Let's go ahead and create something called an SDL underscore frect. Okay, and then frect is basically a way to create my rectangle. Okay, my rect is going to be called something like rect, ending with a semicolon. Okay, should I go with an array of rect? I do want to work with arrays actually. I'm gonna add a pair of square brackets that says my the size of my array is 2, ending with a actually I won't end it with a semicolon. I'll add an equal to sign here, then go with a pair of curly braces. Now set the different x-axis, y-axis, width and height for both my rectangles inside of my array. So I could go with something like a pair of curly braces, and then let's set my x-axis. My x-axis is going to be somewhere 200, y-axis is going to be 200 as well. My width is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe 50, height is going to be 60. And then I'm going to add a comma and add another pair of parentheses for curly braces, I mean for my second array's attributes. Let's say my second array is going to be located at somewhere around 400 and then 400, and my width is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe something like 50 by 60 as well. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and end my SDLF rect with a semicolon. Now that I've created my rectangle object, I'm going to add another comment that says something like main loop. This is where my actual loop is going to be going. And before I do actually start my loop, firstly, I'm going to be creating a boolean variable called something like is running, which is going to be set to true initially. Basically, what this does is just like a variable to like end my while loop sometimes. Okay, that's said. Next up, let's go ahead and create an event loop as well, because I am going to be like looping over events. So actually looking for events. So I'll go ahead and type something like SDL underscore event. I'm assuming this is structure as well, and that's a local variable to the structure. Okay, this says union SDL event, the structure for all events in SDL. So this is a structure. In the other hand, this is a local variable. Local variable is not initialized. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a while loop. So I'll go with something like while, add a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true. I'm going to do something. I'll add a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my curly braces, I am going to be adding a event loop as well. Okay, for my event loop, let's go ahead and add another while loop. Okay, that checks for my poll events. Poll events is like basically all the events that I'm going to be looking for example, user inputs or like clicks in the buttons or like my SDL underscore quit event and all that stuff. So to do that, I could type something like SDL underscore poll event. Okay, now that I've got a poll event, I'm going to add a pair of parentheses. My poll event does require a parameter of the value of my SDL underscore event. So that's basically this. So I'll have to give my this parameter. But it says it has like an asterisk here, so I'll give its like memory address. So I'll go with something like an ampersand event. Okay, perfect. And then let's go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my while loop, firstly, I'm going to add an if statement to check my event type. Okay, no offense. Are you gay, bro? Honestly, no, I'm not gay. Guys, I get that so much, actually. I'm actually straight, guys. That said, next up, for my if statement, I'm going to be checking something. Let's go with something like if my event variable, my local event variable, dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event type is quit, if my user did click like the X button to exit the window, I'm going to do something. I want to end my entire loop, so I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. That's pretty much it for my event loop. Now, outside my event loop, this is like my event loop. Outside it, I'm going to go ahead and add another comment. This time, let's go ahead and customize my window that's going to pop up. For now, my window is going to be black that pops up. Although, I do want my window to be, let's say, red color. So maybe I could go ahead and add a comment that says something like fill screen, maybe fill window. Okay, now for my fill window, firstly, let's go ahead and... okay, I'll need to use the SDL underscore set render draw color function. Guys, these function names are massive. How do I ever remember them? Okay, so basically what the set render draw color does, I actually think of render as like a paintbrush. So for example, I dip the paintbrush inside of a color, now it's ready to paint something. And I will need a few attributes for my set render draw color function. Okay, let's see. So the parameters that I do need is firstly my render variable my render local variable that I created here and set that to like null PDR. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that. So I'll go with something like renderer. Okay, after renderer, I'm going to go ahead and add a comma here. And then I'm going to need a RGB. So like RGB is basically a color type. Since I want my window to be red, I'll go with something like 25500. And lastly, I'm going to be needing alpha, which is basically opacity. How transparent do I want it to be? I don't want it to be transparent at all. So I'll go with something like 255. So like the color is not transparent. And then let's go ahead and end my set render draw color with a semicolon. Okay. And now, if I want to like, this is just like a paintbrush. So I dip my paintbrush inside of a color. Now, I want to paint my entire window with the color. To do that, I could go with something like SDL underscore render clear. This clears my whole screen with that color. And this is going to be a copy of my render variable ending with a semicolon. Appreciate all the free game you get. A subscribe. Honestly, I appreciate you Mosaic. Is that how you pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. I mean, I appreciate you for that, guys. I'm so used to say for joining the stream. Okay, why do you have a fake accent in your old videos? You sounded natural. Why are you faking the accent, bro? Honestly, this is my actual accent. I think that I have like evolved way too much compared to my old videos. That was like 5 years ago, I feel like. Okay, that said, poll. Huh? Okay, next up, after I create a window, let's see. So let's go all the way up here. Okay, now after I fill my window, let's go ahead and add another comment. Now let's see. So now that I've filled my window, what else do I need? I might need graphics for my shape, so I could go with something like a comment that says something like graphics. Alright, for my graphics, firstly, let's see what to do. Maybe I get a paintbrush as well, because like I do want my, whatchamacallit, I do want my Rex or like my rectangles that I created here to be some other color than like this red color. So I could go with something like SDL underscore set render to SDL underscore set render draw color function. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. There we go. Okay, thanks for the lesson, man. This is awesome. Honestly, I appreciate you guys as well. I'm just like doing this for actually learning it, but if it does help you guys, that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, hi chat, I'm building a project with React. How do I make a different container responsive and not fixed size? Honestly, I haven't actually thought about that. That said, let's go ahead and add a render here. Now, what color do I want my, my rec to be? Let's say I want it to be something like, I don't know, maybe a good blue color. So I'll go with something like 0, 248 and 245. That's the RGB for like a cyan color. And lastly, I want the opacity to be 100%, so I'll set that to be 255 as well, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now that I've like dipped my paintbrush into a color, where do I want to color it? I want to fill my rect with that color, so I could go with something like SDL underscore render. I'm saying my render paintbrush to fill my rect, so I'll go with render fill rect with a pair of parentheses. Let's see the parameter that it needs. So firstly, it needs my render parameter, and the second is going to be my SDL underscore frect parameter, which is basically that. So I'll have to give my array and my render, local variable. So firstly, let's go ahead and give my render local variable, and then I'll give an array by its memory address. So I'll go with something like array. My bad, guys. Was it called something like Rex? Okay, my structure of Rex. Okay, let's change this to something like Rex, because like it is like plural, guys. There we go. Okay, should it be with his memory address? Okay, I think it shouldn't be with his memory address, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. Okay. Okay, honestly, since I do want to make I do want all my colors to have like all my separate rectangles to have different colors. So I wouldn't actually go with my Rex's array with his memory address. We do that if I actually had to like change this to something like fill Rex's function. Then I could use a memory address and then like add a number of count. For example, I have 2 elements inside of my array. Honestly, shouldn't this have worked? Because like I have 2 inside of my array. I don't think that in that case we do need this at all. Okay, maybe we don't need the memory address. But since I do want both my rectangles to be a different color, I will use the SDL underscore render fill rect, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now I fill my rect with that color. And now I want to fill my second rect with a different color. Let's go with something like at index of 0, because I want to fill my first element. Shouldn't this be... Okay, hold up guys, now mind, I do need a memory address. The reason I did like, get an error last time is because I forgot to add at index. Because like there are 2 elements inside of my array. That's element 1, that's element 2. So that is at index of 0, that's at index of 1. Okay, no wonder I was getting an error. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and add another SDL underscore set render draw color to double tap screen to like video. Honestly, that does make a lot of sense. I appreciate you, Rico. Okay, that said, let's go ahead and create something like SDL underscore set render draw color. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. Now I want to dip my render paintbrush into a different color. So this is going to be my render paintbrush. Guys, it's actually not considered a render paintbrush. I just call it because it makes a lot of sense when like saying it that way. That's it. Let's see what color do I want to make it this time. I forgot the RGB for like brown. I think it was something like 248, 233 and 0. I think this was the RGB for brown. I don't remember, guys. It might be wrong. Okay, I'm getting your channel recommended from the past weekend. I would like to know what are you doing because I understand nothing what's going on. honestly, basically, I am like trying to learn SDL3 using C++. That's it. This is like for my programming for 258 series, where my goal by the end of that series is to like make a game in general which consists of AI logic. That said, I thought that since I was making a game, might as well like learn the best programming language for it. Okay, that said, now after I dipped my paintbrush or my render, I gave a color to my render. Let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore render. I'm saying my paintbrush to fill my rect. Okay, and then I'll add a pair of parentheses. Did I spell my render correct? This is going to be render, not renderer. Okay, now firstly I'm going to be adding my renderer paintbrush, and then I'll go with the reference of my rexes array at index of 1. This is the second element inside of my array. That is going to be painted brown. This is I'm assuming that's like the RGB for brown, guys. I don't remember properly. Okay, next up, after I'm done with adding my graphics, I am going to present my renderer on the screen. Otherwise, if I didn't present it, then it's going to be all black or either white. So I'm going to go ahead and add a comment that says something like present. To present my renderer, I could use the function called something like SDL underscore render. Let's say something like present. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, this is going to be having my render paintbrush slash my renderer local variable ending with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Now that I'm done, adding my graphics, let's go ahead and do something for when my window is cancelled. So if my player actually exits my window, I'm going to be working on some cleanup. So to clean everything up, firstly, I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore destroy window. This destroys my window. I will be adding the parameter of my window local variable. And then let's go ahead and quit my SDL. I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's return 0 saying everything went good. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so I get my first window here. I'm waiting for my second window to pop up. There we go. Okay guys, I think my RGB color was kind of wrong. So that's not the RGB for brown, that's for yellow. Okay, but at least I got one correct, the cyan one. Okay, that's it. This does look pretty bright. Can you guys see it? Okay, perfect. Alright, next up, let's go with something like Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get some C/ChatGPT here. What up guys, set me somewhere there. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and extend that all the way here. And then all the way there. I've been learning how to use SDL with C# and C. They're my favorite languages. Honestly, they do sound pretty fun. Okay, that's it. I do eventually want to learn C# and like C++. Actually, C and C# as well. That said, let's go ahead and paste it, then go with something like Shift Enter and say something like, say, I feel like I understand how to use, let's say something like, I feel like I understand how to draw Rex. I did add my own custom color, size, and location, or I could say coordinates. That said, can I get a question for drawing the lines now? Guys, I did work on how to draw Rex like 2 streams ago, and I worked on how to draw lines in SDL last stream. I am doing it this stream as well because I did want a quick review before I move on how to draw points and all that stuff. That said, how finally some precision in your hands, people. I see those custom colors. You dared to experiment and it worked. I'm proud, but don't you dare relax yet. We move to lines now. Lines are the veins of every drawing, the bones of geometry itself. In SDL3, the syntax for drawing a line is this simple weapon. So SDL underscore render line. So I say my paintbrush slash my renderer to draw a line. Okay, I add my paintbrush here slash my renderer. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Okay. The parameters X1, Y1 is where my line starts. X2, Y2 is where my line ends. Now, for your challenge, draw a blue diagonal line across the screen from the top left corner, 0, 0, to the bottom right corner, 800 by 600. Then draw a green line from the bottom left corner, 0, 600, to the top right corner. Okay, 800, 0. Alright guys, I'm really bad with geometry if you guys didn't know. Okay, that's it. Let's get some C/ChatGPT there. Okay, let's go all the way down so I can see the coordinates. Okay, I think it's almost ready to go. There we go. Okay, that's it. Let's go with Control and start off by deleting everything. Now, let me go ahead and include a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream. Now, since I am going to be using SDL3, I am going to be including a pair of ankle braces. I'll include SDL3. slash SDL.h. I'm assuming SDL.h is like the header files of SDL. Said, hi doing Arv, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Now let's go ahead and create a main function. To create a main function, firstly, I'll go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. Now my main function is going to be requiring two parameters. The first parameter is going to be something like an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is going to be a pointer. For my arg, with a pair of square brackets. That's honestly an array. And then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now let's go ahead and initialize my SDL and also check and give myself an error if SDL is not initialized properly. To do that, I could go with something like an if statement, and then I'll type something like if my SDL underscore init with a pair of parentheses SDL underscore init underscore video. What this basically is like it's a boolean variable that returns 0 if my SDL did initialize properly, but I'm looking for if it's not initialized properly. I'll do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces and then add a standard C error with an insertion operator that says something like SDL underscore init error. There we go. Okay, and then I'll go in a new line, add another insertion operator. I don't know, that says something like SDL underscore get error. So this gets my SDL error. Okay, then I'll go with, actually go here. There we go. Okay, then I'll go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Alright, lastly, I'm gonna go ahead and return one saying that something went wrong here. Take a look at this code. Okay, now that I've initialized SDL, I'm gonna be drinking some water real quick. Give me a sec, guys, kinda thirsty. Okay, now let's go ahead and create my window and my render. So I'm gonna add a comment that says something like create window and render. So there we go. Okay, to create my window and render, firstly, let's go ahead and type something like SDL underscore window with a asterisk here or a pointer to, let's say, my window local variable, which is going to be equal to null PDR, which is like a placeholder for the time being. Honestly, this is like a structure. The structure used as an queue to handle a window. Okay, I think that does make sense. And then I'll go with something like SDL underscore renderer with a pointer to my renderer variable, which is going to be set to null PDR. That is like a placeholder. Okay, now that I've created by both my local variables for my window and my renderer, I'm going to be adding, let's say, something like SDL underscore create window and renderer to, okay, to create my window and renderer. Guys, I swear, these names are so big. That's it, my god, you came to SDL really awesome, buddy. Honestly, it does make so much sense. I appreciate you, monster. Okay, that said, now I'm going to be requiring a few parameters. Let's say my first parameter is going to be a title slash a caption for my SDL. So I'll go with something like SDL3 window created successfully. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a comma here. Next up, I'll need a width for my window and a height for my window in pixels. So let's go with something like the width is 800, the height is 600. And then I'll need a flag as well. So I could go with the SDL underscore window underscore resizable flag. That makes my window resizable. Although if I didn't need any flag, I could just add a 0 here. That's it. I want to go with a flag. I'll go with something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable. And then I'll add a comma. Now I'm going to be needing both my window variable and my render local variables memory address. So I'll go with the address of operator or a ampersand for my window local variable, and then I'll add a ampersand for my render local variable. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end my entire create window and render with a semicolon. Okay, now that I've created my window and render, I'm gonna be adding an if statement to check if they were not rendered properly. Okay, why you can make the stream in Twitch? Why can you make the stream in Twitch? Honestly, I did like start multi-streaming on like Twitch, Kick, and even YouTube, Horizontal, and Wordplay at the same time. I do actually want to start streaming on Instagram and TikTok as well. That's it. I haven't met the followers requirement yet, guys. Okay, hello again. Hiding brand asset. I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and add an if statement with a pair of parentheses that does something like exclamation window if my window did not return 0. Or my renderer did not return 0, I'm gonna do something. Okay, man, I hate SDL. I guess it's like so much work for just a triangle, yet I want to code a physics engine if possible. I haven't learned the whole boilerplate code for it. Honestly, it does sound pretty cool. That's it. I feel like the reason I like SDL is because it's hard. I feel like I'm gonna have a field day when I start learning assembly. That's it. I feel like the harder a programming language is, the like funner it gets to learn. I mean, Python was kind of fun as well, but then eventually it did start getting boring because there were like nothing much to do, just the same thing again and again. That said, I feel like because I didn't explore the language completely. Okay, next up, what if I did get an error? I'll go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. This is gonna say something. Okay, this is gonna say something big. So maybe I'll go in a new line and add an insertion operator that says something like SDL underscore create window and okay, create window and render error. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go in a new line, add an insertion operator that says something like, I don't know, maybe SDL underscore get error, because this gets me an error. What up, guys? Let me fix my typo real quick. Okay, and then I'm going to add a pair of parentheses, change that to like a uppercase G. Okay, now let's go with, excuse me, guys, another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, if I do get an error, like if my window is not created properly or my render is not created properly, firstly, I do want to exit my SDL. So I'll do something like SDL underscore quit. Okay, and then I'll add a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. And then let's say I'm going to return 1 saying that something went wrong in this part of the code. Okay, and then now that I've added an if statement to check my window is created, also now that I've created my window, I'm going to be adding my main loop. I want you to like create a separate structure like how I did for like recs, like I went with SDL underscore frec to like create a rectangle. I'm going to be creating a line, so I won't need that. So I could just go with a comment that says main loop. This is going to be my main loop. For my main loop, I'm going to be creating a variable, a boolean variable called is running, which is going to keep my program running, which is going to be set to true initially. And then let's go ahead and create an event variable. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore event. This is a variable that's going to be something like events. Honestly, this is a structure. So this is a union SDL, a structure for all events in SDL. Okay, that is a local variable. Now let's create a while loop. So I'll go with something like while, a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true, I'm going to do something. I'm going to be adding an event loop. All you do, ChatGPT doing better. My god, for real. Honestly, I appreciate you, Stock. Although, guys, I didn't understand that all you do, ChatGPT is doing better, because I feel like ChatGPT since it does make a lot of mistakes when the code gets complex, it's really hard to like actually find the sweet spot. That said, I'm going to be creating an event loop. So for my event loop, I'm going to be adding another while loop to check my events. So for that, I could go with something like SDL underscore poll event. Basically, what poll event does is it like checks all the event that I'm actually looking for inside of my while loop. Okay, although my poll event is going to be requiring a parameter of my event variable. Okay, perfect. And then I'll add above curly braces. Now, for my poll event to look for an event, I have to like add an event to check if that event is currently going on. So I'm going to go with something like if a pair of parentheses, let's say if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event type is quit, I'm going to do something. I'll go ahead and set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false ending with a semicolon. That ends my whole program. Hello brother, how are you doing? R6, I appreciate you joining the stream. No donate button. Honestly, I didn't add that. That said, I do appreciate you guys' thought for actually thinking of donating. That's it guys, maybe later. Okay, let's go ahead and add a comment now. This is going to be events loop. There we go. Okay, okay, honestly, I feel like I should like lowercase this. This looks much better if it's at lowercase. Okay, now let's go ahead and fill my screen with a color. So I'll go with something like fill screen. Okay, and this time I do want to fill my screen with a cyan color. So let's go ahead and add my paintbrush / my renderer. To do that, I could go with something like SDL underscore set render. I'm going to set my render, let's say to draw color, to draw a color. Guys, I don't know why this is the function name, but I'm trying to see how it makes sense. SDL underscore set render draw color. There we go. Okay, my set render draw color is going to be requiring, let's say, I think 4 parameters. First is going to be my renderer local variable, then a RGB, and lastly an alpha. What language? Honestly, it is C++. That said, let's go ahead and firstly add my renderer variable, my local variable, and then I'm going to be adding an RGB color. The RGB is going to be something like 0, 248, 255. That's a good cyan color. And then my alpha is going to be 255. I want my opacity to be 100%, ending with a semicolon. C++, pretty sure. Honestly, what is he building? Honestly, I'm not like building anything. That's it. I am like learning how to draw objects using SDL3. Once I'm done with that, I will learn how to automate those objects. Ah, God, I cut my lips. Okay, that's it. I am going to be learning on how to like automate those objects, and once I do automate those objects, I will be learning on how to like actually adding images in SDL3. Okay, how do you name fruits? I appreciate you joining the stream. Can't you speak Hindi? Honestly, I can like speak a little bit of Hindi, but then I feel like I'm not as fluent in it as I'm in English. That's yeah, it's full C++. Okay, next up, now that I've set a color for my render, I'm going to be filling my rect with that color. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore. Actually, before I fill my rect with that color, I'll save my render to clear the entire screen with my renderers as color, ending with a semicolon. So now technically my entire window is cyan color. Okay, now that I did do that, let's go ahead and add another comment that says something like graphics. This is going to be where I'm going to actually draw my color. Okay, SDL is just a library for C++. Oh, I see. Are you front end or on C++? Honestly, I didn't like understand much about front end. That's it. I feel like this is considered back end development, like where we actually learn to program, because I do like the programming part. That's it. Do you only know C++ or do you have any other language knowledge? And also, how long have you been programming? Honestly, I have been programming for like I think 156 days right now. That's it. Out of the 156 days, I did spend I think about 100 days learning Python. So I do like have 100 days Python experience. I didn't make it because I did like have a Python for 100 days series. But my goal by the end of that series was to make a game, and I was done with that game like 54 days ago. It was a 450 lines code, guys. I do like have that in my channel. That's it. Now to create a line, I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore render line. Okay, so this is gonna draw a line. Now I'll need 4 parameters: x1, y1, where my line 1 starts, where my line 1 ends, and x2, y2. Guys, I'm really bad with coordinates, so I'm assuming I'll go with something like, let's say my line starts at 200, 200, ends at 400, 400. Guys, is this how coordinates work? I will need my renderer as well, so I'll go with something like renderer. Okay, perfect. Alright, and then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Next up, let's go ahead and add another comment that says something like present, because I want to present my line on my screen as well. I'll go with something like SDL underscore render present. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, I'll add my render variables as parameter, ending with a semicolon. And I just realized one thing. I might have to like fill my paintbrush with a different color. I call this function, like I actually named this function something like filling my paintbrush, like set color draw, set render draw color. Okay, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore. I'm gonna set my render, which is basically a paintbrush, to draw a color. So I'll go with something like draw color, and then I'll add a pair of parentheses. Now I wanna add a color to my render local variable slash my paintbrush. The color is gonna be black. So I'll go with 0, 0, 0, and the opacity is going to be 255. Lastly, I'm going to end this with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Maybe did I add a space here? Okay, I think this is pretty good. Now that I've done adding my graphics, I'm going to go ahead and do some cleanup once my while loop ends. So this is outside my while loop. So I'll go with something like cleanup. Why is coding kind of fun? I actually feel it is actually fun because like, I don't know how it is fun, but like we build new stuff. It actually sounds pretty fun. Okay, so you're automating objects, not yet. Maybe I'll automate it like next time. I am learning how to draw the objects first before I start automating them. Eventually, I'll even learn how to animate them. That said, first I'm going to go with my cleanup. For my cleanup, first I'm going to destroy my window. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore destroy window with a pair of parentheses. This is going to require my window parameter ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'll return 0. Okay, how did you learn so fast? Honestly, I actually don't know, guys. Like, I feel like I just got a quick gist of it after I like started. That's it. If I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so I did get my first window pop up, guys. Let's see the second one. Hi, bro. Love it. I appreciate you. Shashak, is that how you pronounce your name? Okay, that said, there we go. That's my second window. And guys, I did not feel like I wrote the coordinates correct of the line. You guys can like see that tiny line that I drew. I feel like I'm kind of awful with like coordinates. Okay, do you know template in C++? Honestly, I haven't like heard of that yet. Okay, that's it. I'll go with something like Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get sensei slash chat GPT. Okay, bro, isn't going fast. He's still initializing a window for the last few days. Initializing window. Honestly, that does make sense because I do want to like master something before I actually move on. Because like I feel like if I did master my stuff before I like moved on, it wouldn't like make any sense because like I'll have to like come back to the same stuff. So I'm like, if I'm learning, might as well like take my sweet time learning it. Okay, are you from literate state? Literate state? Maybe. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and paste. Let's go with shift enter and say something like, Sensei, I feel like I understand how to draw a line as well. That said, I am kind of bad with coordinates. Okay, now we can start the next phase. What was the other shape left? Question mark. For example, there's line and rex. I remember that maybe there was a dot as well? Question mark. Okay, let's see. Hello, literally just started learning C++ today and somehow your channel pops up on YouTube. Honestly, it sounds pretty cool. Good luck with learning C++, Dark. Okay, honestly, it's the best policy to keep it up. Actually, guys, that does make sense. Honestly, it's the best policy. Okay, yes, you've got the hunter's instinct now, pupil. You aimed your line clean and true. Coordinates may still mock you, but that's just the wind testing your arm. Now listen closely. SDL3 gives you a few primitive shapes out of the box. So we have rectangles. We worked on that. We have lines. Worked on that as well. Points. I didn't work. I gotta work on this. SDL underscore venture point. Circles, polygons, and other curves. SDL3 doesn't hand you those on silver platter. You force them yourself using math and helper libraries. But for now, you're right. The next logical step is the points, the atom of all shapes. Think of it as a pixel you control. The syntax is SDL underscore render point. I'll need my render object, x-axis and y-axis. Instruction time. Draw 5 points, okay, in each different color on your window. Scatter them at different coordinates like stars at the night sky. Once you've drawn them, we'll talk about how to build more complex shapes from these points, triangles, circles, even polygons later. Okay, let's see the function name. So it's SDL underscore render point. X-axis, y-axis. Okay, hold up. Let me actually copy this part. Let's go ahead and paste it here. Go with shift enter and say something like, Sensei, what does the X and Y mean here? Question mark. For a line, it makes sense where it starts and where it ends, but isn't point a dot? Question mark. Okay, didn't know AI can be used to code. Actually, I do like it. Is like a pretty good resource. And when I first started, many of you guys did like say me AI does teach wrong, but I feel like I've been like using ChatGPT slash Sensei for like 152 days to like learn everything up till here. I feel they're pretty helpful. That's it. Hey, after learning C++, what projects you gonna build? Honestly, my goal is to like build a game in general which consists of AI logic in it. That's it. I've done a course in computer graphics. That actually sounds cool. Okay, you're using my idea. I don't know, but I think it's 3D engine. Guys, honestly, I feel like I didn't like idea. I feel like I didn't get an idea. I just like randomly popped up. C++ is not a front end. Who asked, bro? Guys, I feel like sometimes I'm too confused about what you guys say. That said, good question, people. You're thinking like a craftsman now. I've done a course on computer graphics that actually sounds really cool. Yes, a point is just a single dot. It does not start or end anywhere. It simply exists at a location on your window. So in this line, SDL underscore render point, render, x-axis, y-axis. X is the horizontal coordinates, how far across the screen from the left edge. Y is the vertical coordinate, how far down from these how far down from the top edge. Okay, every pixel of your window is identified by one of these x y pairs. So for example, SDL underscore render point, render 400 300. This draws a single dot exactly in the center of an 800 by 600 window because half of 800 is 400, half of 600 is 300. I see. Okay, in other words, while a line is like saying draw from here to there, a point simply draws that right here. Oh, I see. Okay, now let's test that. Draw a white point at the center of your window. Okay, once it appears like a shining pixel, light will expand into multiple color and patterns. Okay, so I'm assuming it was like SDL underscore render point. Okay, AI is garbage. Read documentations on Stack Overflow more than AI slop. Honestly, I feel like that does make sense. That said, eventually I will actually move on to like reading documentation, but for now, I feel like AI does teach properly because like I don't understand documentation that nicely. That's it, true brother. My company just stopped using AI tools because of bugs and glitches. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend like using AI for like actually implementing it in your code. I would recommend using AI to like learn stuff because like they are pretty good when it comes to teaching. Okay, if your goal is to make games, have you tried making macros or cheats with window? Okay, user 32 DDLs, you can make cool stuff with it. Honestly, I haven't tried that yet. I'm just learning the basics because I think it is like my day six of like actually learning SDL. That said, let me actually start off by including a pair of ankle braces. Let's say I want to include audio stream, and then let's go ahead and include SDL3. So I'm gonna include SDL3 slash SDL.h, which are the header files for SDL. Hold up, guys. Let me fix my typo real quick. There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'll go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. My main function is going to be requiring two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character of something like argv's array. Okay, and then I'll add a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my main function, I am going to be doing something. What up, guys? There we go. Okay, let's actually delete all these spare lines. Okay, now, did I like miss something up here? A pair of parentheses. I think this is correct. Okay, now inside of my wait, I think it should be a pair of curly braces. Hold up, guys. It should be a pair of curly braces. My bad. There we go. Okay, now inside of my main function, firstly, I'm gonna do something. What's it? Okay, let me go ahead and end this with a pair of parentheses. There we go. Okay, and then maybe delete some lines from here and then go here. Okay, I think this is good. Now, inside of my main function, firstly, let's initialize SDL. AI just randomly guesses the next word it should say. This is why AI thinks there's 2 R's, not 3 in Raspberry. Huh? Guys, I think it's honestly just the prompts. I see a SOA watermark. SOA watermark. Okay, that's it. Let's firstly go ahead and add an if statement. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. I'm going to do something like if not SDL underscore init, and then I'll add a pair of parentheses, SDL underscore init underscore video. If this does not return 0, I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces. That gives me an error firstly, so I'll go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. This is going to say something like I got a SDL underscore init error. Okay, okay, and then I'll go in a new line, add another insertion operator that gets me an error. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore get error with a pair of parentheses. Lastly, I'll go with a standard end line, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then let's go ahead and return 1. Okay, that said, now that I've initialized SDL and checked like if something went wrong, I will give myself an error as well. Let's go ahead and create our window and renderer. So I'll add a comment that says something like create create window and renderer. Okay, hiding crazy shorts. I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, for creating my window and renderer, firstly, let's go ahead and create a structure that holds my window. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore window with an asterisk for my window local variable, which is going to be equal to null PDR for now, which is like a placeholder. And I'll do the same thing for my renderer as well. So I'll go with SDL underscore renderer with an asterisk to my renderer variable or my renderer local variable, which is going to be set to null PDR as well, which is a placeholder. Now that I've created both my structures, which holds like 2 local variables, let's actually create my window and renderer. So I'll go with the SDL underscore create window and renderer function. What up, guys? Let me remove that S from there. There we go. Okay, I'm going to add a pair of parentheses. Now, I'll require think about 5 parameters. The first parameter is going to be a title. So I'll go with something like SDL3 window created successfully. Okay, and then I'll go with a comma, add my second parameter, which is going to be the width of my window and the height of my window in pixels. Let's say the width of my window is going to be 800 pixels, the height is going to be 600 pixels, and then my third parameter is going to be a flag. So if I don't want to add any flags, I could add a 0 here. But I do want to add a flag for resizing my window, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore window underscore resize. How do you spell resizable? There we go. Okay, so this is going to be my flag so I could resize my window. Lastly, actually second lastly, I'm going to give my window local variable by its memory address, and then I'll add my final parameter of, let's say, something like my renderer. So let's go with something like a address of operator, my renderer local variable, and then let's add my entire create window and renderer with a semicolon. Do you learn it before live and practice it on live? Honestly, I used to do that before for my Python, but then nowadays I just start learning like on stream, because like off stream I do like study for my college stuff because I do have an exam. Guys, I got like so many exams. That said, I do have an exam this Monday, kind of which we call nervous for that, but even excited at the same time. Okay, that's it. Now that I've created like a window and renderer, I am going to be adding an if statement to check if they were not created properly. So I'll go with something like if a parentheses. I'll go with something like if not window, if my window local variable did not return 0, or let's say my renderer local variable did not return 0. I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces that does something like, or that says something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. This is going to give me something like an SDL underscore create window and renderer error. Guys, I feel like this name is so huge. And then I'll go in a new line, add another insertion operator. Okay, Muda. Nerd, guys, I'm actually... Okay, hold up. I feel like maybe that might be kind of true, guys. Okay, what are you doing, course? Honestly, I'm not like... I don't like have a course for C++. That's it. I am like learning SDL3 using C++. You gay, guys? I'm actually not gay. That's it. This is window programming, right? This is Windows programming. Honestly, I am in Windows. That said, let's go ahead and do something like SDL underscore get error. So I'm going to get myself an error. And then let's go in a new line. So I'll go with something like an insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now, if I did have an error when my window was being made, or like when my renderer was be creating, I'm going to be personally quitting my SDL. So I'll go with SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. And then let's return 1 saying that something went wrong. If I remember right, SDL is universal. Honestly, yeah, we can like use C# for SDL and even like C for SDL. That said, are you gay? Like, guys, I'm actually not gay. Why are you not gay? Guys, because I feel like I like girls. I mean, not like that kind of girls, because I feel like if you're gay, then like if you're not gay, then not gay people actually like girls, and like gay people, they don't like girls. I don't know, guys. Fact check me on that. Okay, that said, now that I've actually added an if statement, I'm going to be adding a comment here that says something like main. So I'll go with something like main loop. For my main loop, firstly, I'm going to be needing 2 variables. The first variable is going to be a boolean variable of it is running, which is set to true initially. The second, okay, which is going to be equal to true. Okay, this SDL would not work on Linux/Mac or PostX OS, right? Honestly, I haven't like looked into that. That's it. I feel like it might work. You guys should actually fact check me though. Okay, the first thing that you say on stream of Indian guy at computer is you gay. What the hell, guys? I get that so much every stream. That's it. I think you should go check some tutorials because I'm not really understanding. I feel like I don't like understand much when I like actually see tutorials, because I feel like tutorials are pretty vague. I feel like practice does make perfect. That's it. Let's go with something like SDL underscore event to create an event variable. And honestly, guys, many of you guys do get kind of confused thinking that I'm teaching this. I'm actually not teaching it. Instead, I am like learning SDL. That's it. How can I get free APIs for N8 and all? Honestly, I haven't like looked into that. Okay, are you following Wayne Wilm? Honestly, I haven't like heard of that. Okay, do you know progress 4GL? Actually, I haven't like heard of that as well. That's it. Let's go ahead and create an event variable ending with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and create a while loop. So I'll go with while a pair of parentheses. I'll go with something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true. I'm going to do something. I'm going to be adding a event loop. So I'll go with something like a event loop. Now for my event loop, I'm going to be creating another while loop. So I'll go with something like while a pair of parentheses. Let's go with something like while poll event. Basically what the poll event does is it checks currently what event is going on, and if that event matches with the event that I'm actually looking for. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a parameter for my event variable by its memory address. And then I'll look for events. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses, if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit, I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces and set my is running boolean variable to be false ending with a semicolon. Okay, are you coming to school tomorrow? Guys, I actually don't go to school. That's it. I did start college. Okay, next up, let's see. So under my while loop, let's go ahead and go all the way down. I'm gonna add another comment that says something like, let's say fill screen. So I'm gonna be filling my screen with a color. Okay, so to fill my screen, firstly, I could go ahead and use the function called SDL underscore set render draw color function. There we go. Okay, basically what the set render draw color function does is it like adds a color to my to my render slash my paintbrush, and then I would need a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render local variable. The second, third, and fourth parameter is going to be my RGB. Let's say I want to fill my screen with a good gray color. I'll go with something like 200, 200, 200. And then my opacity, that's going to be my fifth parameter. That is going to be 255, which means my opacity is set to 100%, or how transparent or not transparent is my object. Okay, are you Chinese, guys? Do I look Chinese? That's it. He's an AI, guys. I'm actually, guys? I'm actually reading the chats live. Okay, that's it. Next up, let's go ahead and fill my screen with this. So I'll go with something like, hold up, guys, in a sec. So it's 1288. Let me actually write that somewhere. 1288. Okay. Alright, next up, let's go ahead and do something like SDL underscore render clear. Basically what the render clear does, it like clears my entire window with the color that I set here. Okay, but this does require my render variable, ending with a semicolon. Bro, can you introduce yourself a bit? Like, do you do job in it? Honestly, I feel like, guys, I actually don't have any job or anything. I am kind of jobless at the moment. That's the reason I feel like it is kind of a privilege as well, being kind of jobless, because like I do have a lot of opportunity to like learn stuff like this and explore it. That said, hey, what are you doing? Honestly, I am like learning C++ in SDL, or like learning SDL using C++. Okay, you're gonna hell, man. Are you 15 plus? Guys, I'm actually almost 18. I'm 17 currently. I'm going to be turning 18 this this January. That said, let's go ahead and add my graphics as well. Now, for my graphics, this is the trickier and the newer part. So I gotta go with something like, firstly, SDL underscore set render draw color, because I do want to like add a color for my renderer. Let's go with something like red. So I'll go with something like a renderer 25500. Okay, and then 255. Okay, now that I've like added a color for my renderer, this is a new function. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore, let's say render point. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, because I want to draw a dot on my screen. My render point does require three parameters: my render variable, my floating x-axis, and a y-axis. I don't know anything about coordinates, guys. That said, let's go ahead and add my render variable here. I'll go with something like x-axis is something like the center of my screen. So 800 by 600 is the total width and height of my screen. I'll go with something like 400 and 300. Okay, so it's going to be in the center of my screen, ending with a semicolon. Okay, are you from Dubai or English? Guys, actually, I haven't been to Dubai yet. That's it. I am kind of excited to visit there as well. I might stream myself there. Okay, if it was AI, the text would be rendered properly. The edges will be all weird, and the audio will be much more polished. Honestly, guys, I'm actually not AI, because like I'm literally reading you guys' chat out live. Okay, that said, now, let's see. Now that I've added my renderer, let's go ahead and add another comment that says something like present. For my present, firstly, I'm going to be presenting my renderer on my screen, so I'll go with something like SDL underscore render present with a pair of parentheses. This is going to be my renderer variable, ending with a semicolon. Now, once my while loop ends, I'm done with adding all my graphics, drawing all my shapes. Once everything is over and the window is, the user exits my window, I'm going to do some cleanup. Firstly, I'll go with something like SDL underscore destroy window. I'm going to be destroying my window and then adding a parameter here for my window variable, ending with a semicolon. And then I'll do something like SDL underscore quit, ending with a semicolon. Lastly, let's go ahead and return 0, ending with a semicolon. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Guys, I'm kind of excited to see what happens. Okay, maybe I do see a tiny dot here. Wait, was that just a lint in my screen? Guys, where's the dot at? Is it like a... Is it not like too small so like we can't even see it? Hold up, guys. Did I have to like present it or something? It should be a red dot. Okay, hold up. Let's go with the controller. Control C, copy that. Gibson say /chat GPT here. Okay, bro, how long it takes to learn Python and daily how much hours? Honestly, when I first started learning Python, since it was like my first language, I used to spend about 10 hours a day like learning Python because like I used to wake up, start learning, then head to bed, and I did that for like I think about 60, maybe like 70 days because I can like guarantee I did that for like 100 whole days because like I remember there were like 2 or 3 days where I didn't learn because I did have like other stuff to do. That said, let's go ahead and paste this. Go with Shift Enter. Okay, let's say something like, let's say, I feel like I messed up, question mark. I don't see the dots on my screen. Is it because it's so small or I messed something up, question mark? Okay, bro, I don't have any idea on programming languages, even basics, what to do. Help me. Honestly, the best recommendation that I could give you is like actually learning a specific topic from like the very basics. For example, learn how, if you're going with Python, learn how print statements work and like later learn on how to create variables, how to work with user inputs, how to get user input and all that stuff. And then even like loops, for loops, while loops, nested loops, maybe even, what you call it. I actually forgot all the topics. Maybe even like vectors, containers, and all that stuff in like Python. That said, hey, we're all the same. Like I'm 17 plus. Honestly, I'm me too as well. That's it. I am gonna turn 18 really soon, guys. Your screen is very high resolution, so a pixel would be extremely tiny, like unseeable. Oh, I see. Okay, excellent instincts, pupil. You didn't mess up. Your eyes just lost the laws of physics. Yes, the dot is there, but it's only 1 pixels wide. On a high resolution monitor that's basically microscopic, a single glowing atom in a sea of pixels. Unless your background color gives you a contrast or your render scales look it invisible. Okay, let's prove it's real. You can thicken the points, okay, by drawing multiple nearby points. Okay, example, set render draw color. Oh, this is going to be fun, guys. I want to try this. Okay, for every integer of direction x which equals to -2, while my direction x is less than or equal to 2, I want to increase my direction x by 1. And then I go with a nested for loop. For every integer of direction y which equals to -2, while my direction y is less than 2, I'm going to increment it by 1. SDL underscore render point 400 plus direction x, 300 plus direction y. Guys, why did I understand what this meant? I feel like because I did some of the direction x and direction y in like Python while learning about collisions. That's it, bro. 15. Oh, that actually sounds pretty cool. That's it. Where are you from? Honestly, I used to answer that a lot. That's it. I haven't like what you might call it. Many of you guys did say me to like avoid saying that, so I like stopped saying that. That said, I'm 37. That actually sounds really cool as well. Okay, guys, I feel like maybe, just maybe, I understood what to do. Hold up, let's go ahead and delete this. I want to try this without looking at the code real quick. So first I could go with a for loop, so I'll go with for, a pair of parentheses. Let's say for every integer of direction x which equals to -2, ending with a semicolon, while my direction x is less than or equal to 2, which it currently is, I'm going to go ahead and increment my direction x by 1. So I'll go with direction x plus plus. And then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. I'll go with my direction y as well. So I'll go with something like for every integer of direction y which equals to -2. Okay, while my direction y is less than or equal to 2, which it currently is, I'm going to increment my direction y by 1. And then I'll go with another pair of curly braces. I'm going to be doing something like SDL underscore render point. I'm going to be rendering a point. Okay, now I'll go with something like 400, my half of my vertical window size, plus direction x. And then I'll go with something like plus, let's go with something like 300. Okay, plus direction y. Okay, and that's pretty much it, ending with a semicolon. Wait, isn't this how it works? Wait, I think I forgot to add my render variable. There we go. Okay, let's remove the semicolon from there. Should I add it somewhere like here? Okay, maybe I think I should add it here. Okay, wait, did I mess something up real quick? Okay, please help me, bro. Should I start from C programming? Honestly, I would recommend learning Python because it is pretty easy. That said, it depends like on few people's preference. Some of you guys do prefer learning C++, like starting with the hardest language. I would like recommend exploring. That said, here, RK C++ 23, yes. Oh, I see. Okay, that's it. Did I mess something up here? I think I messed up because I just need two parameters. Maybe I go with something like a pair of parentheses here, like a tuple, and add a tuple here as well. But I'm pretty sure C++ does not have tuples. Okay, it does not. Hold up, guys. Let's get syntax slash ChatGPT here real quick again. I do want to see where did I mess up. I went with render point 400 plus direction X. I didn't go with a comma. There we go. Okay, perfect. Comma 300 plus direction Y. And now for it control S to save the code and run the command. I'm pretty sure this should work. My first window that popped up here. Okay, and that's my second window, guys. If you guys can see that tiny line there, the tiny dots, it went right there now. Okay, perfect. It does work. Although I'm just curious, what happened if I changed it to something like negative 20, 20, and then negative 20 and 20? And now for it control S to save the code and run the command. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a bigger square. There we go. Okay, that's like a much bigger point. Let's go ahead and exit that. Bro, someone said he's gay. Guys, I'm actually not gay. SDL, he said, right? Honestly, actually, I am like learning the basics of SDL and C++. That's a bit. Hold up. Let's just change this to something like 2 again. There we go. Okay, now for it, control C to copy the code. Let's get some slash ChatGPT here. Let's go ahead and paste this. Go with shift enter and say something like, so say it works exclamation. That said, okay, that said, I feel like I understand how to draw them. Okay, but what if I wanted to make my line thick as well, like the SDL underscore render line? How to, what up guys, I think I spelled this wrong. SDL underscore render line. There we go. How to do that? Okay, let's see one for render line as well. Bro, what's the output of all these coding you're doing? Honestly, I think I just showed it. Hold up, guys. Let me hydrate my lips real quick. Bro, making a video game, it'll be in Steam. That actually sounds really good. Good job, Pixel. Okay, that said, hold up. Let me actually show you guys the output again. If I were to run the code. Okay, so this is my first terminal. That's my second terminal. I got like a tiny red dot here if you guys can actually see it. It's like 2 pixels wide dot. Okay, that's it. Let's get some say slash ChatGPT back up here. Good thing. That's how you learn by making the pixels bleed into existence. Now, for thick lines, SDL doesn't have a direct function like SDL underscore render thick line. You've got 2 main strategies. Okay, both are deliciously hands-on. Method 1, parallel lines technique, simple but effective. You just draw multiple lines, slightly offset, okay, each other kind. Okay, integer of thickness equals to 5 for every integer of I, which equals to negative thickness. Okay, if I is less than or equal to my thickness, I'm going to increment my by 1. Okay, I think I see. That makes a horizontal line look thicker by adding small vertical offsets. Method 2, rectangle techniques, more precise. If you draw a straight vertical line, horizontal, I see. So frect line 200, 300. Oh, I see. So this is basically making a rectangle look like a line. This is like making a line look like a better line. If only it was possible to wipe code video games. Honestly, I feel like that does make sense. Okay, next up, let me say something like, so say I think that I understand ... Okay, can I get a instruction based question now that requires me to draw all 3 kinds of shapes? Okay, all 3 kinds of shapes. Maybe where I also change the thickness of my point. Okay, exclamation. Let's see. Finally, you're asking for a real challenge. Listen up, people. Your next mission is a test of precision, color balance, and geometric dominance. Instructional challenge. This signals the signal beacon. You will create an SDL program that draws a glowing beacon tower made of all 3 shapes we've learned. Excuse me, guys. We've learned so far. A thick line rectangle, guys. I should have known that. Okay, that actually does sound pretty fun now, bro. Okay, what one have to do in coding field to get high paying job? I heard a lot of TSA solving you need to do. Honestly, I wouldn't like, because I never had like experience with like jobs or like actually searching for jobs, but I do think that people are looking for someone who are like proficient in a category. I would recommend you guys to like stick to one thing and like keep improving yourself until like you guys are at a level that AI can't like just reach. So they would like ask for humans, because AI like lacks critical thinking. That said, I did hear like cybersecurity has a lot of job demands, guys. Although fact check me. That said, here's what your beacon must contain: a base platform, a rectangle, draw a thick, wide rectangle near the bottom center of the screen. This is the tower's base. Make it dark gray, so 80, 80, 80. A tower shaft line, okay, from the center of that base, draw a thick vertical line upwards using the parallel line method. Make it black and around 10 pixels thick. A beacon light, okay, points at the very top of your line. Draw a thick glowing point. Use your points to thicken loop trick, okay. Make it bright yellow, 255, 255, and 0, and about 10 by 10 pixels big. I think I see. Bonus challenge optional. Make the light blink, turn on and off every second. You'll need to use timings for that, but focus on the drawings first, because I don't know how to use the timings just yet. Okay, what instructions did you give ChatGPT to act like Sensei? Honestly, I just like gave the way I wanted like ChatGPT to act. That's it. I don't think I can like give the actual prompt, because I feel like it's like kind of personal, guys. That's it, because I did like have something in it. Okay, that said, let's see. Let's start off by firstly deleting everything. Now, let's go ahead and include a prof ankle braces. Let's say I want to include IO stream, and then let's go ahead and include another pair of ankle braces of something like SDL3 slash SDL.h. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'll go with something like integer main, add a pair of parentheses. My main function is going to be requiring two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character's pointer of argv with a pair of square brackets, which is technically an array. And then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. So, okay, brother, what are you doing? Explain, please. Honestly, I am like learning how to use SDL using C++. That said, now that I've created a main function, let's go ahead and add a if statement to check if my SDL was initialized properly or not. To do that, I could go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's go with something like not, if not SDL underscore init, with a pair of parentheses, SDL underscore init underscore video. If my SDL's video was not initialized properly, if it did not return 0, I'm going to throw myself an error. First, I'll go with something like standard C error with an insertion operator that says something like SDL underscore init error. Okay, with a pair of RSL colon here. Okay, and then I'll go in a new line at another insertion operator and go with something like SDL underscore get error. This gets me an error. Then I'll go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then let's go ahead and return 1, saying something is wrong, check the program. Okay, you're learning from ChatGPT. Honestly, yeah, I feel like ChatGPT slash is like really useful when it comes to like learning stuff. That said, let's go ahead and add another comment now to create a window. So I'll go ahead and create a window. So honestly, I might create a renderer as well with my window. I might create them all together. So I'll go with something like create window and renderer. Before I do actually use the function that creates my window and renderer, I will be creating two structures that has a local variable in it. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore window with a pointer to my window local variable, which is going to be set to something like nullpedia at the moment. That is a placeholder. And then I'll go with something like SDL underscore renderer, okay, with a pointer as well to my render local variable. There we go, which is going to be set to something like nullpedia as well, a placeholder. Import standard. Okay, so why you're not going to institute any courses for learning? Honestly, because I feel like, I mean, I'm not saying like courses are bad. I feel like courses are pretty fun, but it depends on like preference as well. Because like some people, they don't like prefer learning through course and everything. Me personally, I feel like tutorials are pretty vague. Like they're pretty helpful when like you're first starting off, but like after the first 5 days for me, or like the first 3 days, I feel they're pretty vague, guys. So like I don't know what else to understand from that. So I do like practice questions on my own. Eventually, I do understand. Okay, that said, okay, next up, let's go ahead and actually create a window. So I'm going to go ahead and use the function called SDL underscore create window. and a renderer function. Okay, my create window and render function does require, let's say, 5 parameters. The first parameter is going to be a title slash a caption for my window. I'll set the caption to something like SDL3 window created. Maybe I'll title case my created. There we go. And then I'll add a comma. Now I'll need a width and a height in pixels for my window. Let's say my width is going to be 800 and my height is going to be 600. And then we'll need a flag. If you guys don't want to set the flag to anything, you guys could like set this to 0. But I do want my flag to be resizable or my window to be resizable. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable flag. I think I spelled it wrong. There we go. Okay, now my flag is going to be resizable or my window is going to be resizable. I spelled window wrong. There we go. Okay, if you talk Hindi, I like to watch your lives. Really, honestly, guys, I could, but I don't like. Actually, I can't like. I know how to like speak a little bit of Hindi, but I'm not as fluent in it. So like, I wouldn't be to like elaborate what I'm doing. Actually, that's it. Do you think you can add a comment explaining the current object for people who are just turning in? Do you understand? Huh? In you understand? Honestly. Okay, to add a comment explaining the current objective for people. Oh, I see. Honestly, I feel like I did like add that in my title and in my my thumbnail, because like I feel like I did my title and thumbnail is basically the one that says that I'm drawing like I'm learning to draw objects in C++. That's it. I don't know how I would add like an actual objective, because like it would be like a lot of typing for that. That said, let's go ahead and add my window local variable with its memory address, and then I'll go with something like my render local variable by its memory address as well. And then once I'm done with adding all 5 parameters, I'm going to go ahead and end it with a semicolon. Now that I've created my window and render, let's check if they are not created properly. So I could go with something like an if statement with a pair of parentheses that checks something like not window if my window local variable did not return 0, or let's say my render local variable did not return 0. I'm going to do something. I can't see a title. Honestly, actually a title is like, if you guys like do go to my actual channel, for example, like here's a live. If you guys do go to my channel and like the video that it says like live on, there's like my title that I wrote. That's it. Bro, did you understand Hindi? Honestly, I can like understand like if I hear Hindi, but I can't actually read it, guys. I feel like I'm kind of illiterate when it comes to reading Hindi. That's it. I got here to scroll through live streams. Oh, I see. That actually sounds pretty cool. Okay, that said, let's go ahead and firstly add a standard C edit here. Okay, this is going to say something like, it's going to say something big. So honestly, I might go in a new line. Okay, and then I'll add an insertion operator with a pair of double quotes. Will say something like SDL underscore create window and renderer error. Okay, so I'm going to be giving myself a create window and renderer error. Okay, and then I'll go in a new line with another insertion operator. This is going to be something like SDL underscore get error with a pair of parentheses to invoke the function. Then I'll go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Where you from, bro? Honestly, I feel like I used to say that way too much before, guys, but many of you guys did say me to like avoid saying that, so I did start avoid saying it. That said, if I did have an error in my window or my renderer, I am firstly going to exit my SDL. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Now, after I'm done exiting my SDL, I am going to be returning one saying something went wrong here. Okay, now with all that out of the way, let's read Sensei's instructions again. So let's scroll all the way down. Where the instructions at? Okay, hold up, guys. I'm scrolling all the way down. There we go. Okay, so it says to create a base platform rectangle. Okay, draw a thick wide rectangle near the bottom center of the screen. Okay, this is the tower's base. Make it dark gray, 80, 80, 80. So I gotta draw a thick, wide rectangle. Okay, so since this is base, I'm assuming like it should be longer. So maybe I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment here that says something like shape details. Shape details. Okay, now for my shape, I'm going to be creating a SDL underscore F rect shape called something like rect. Okay, ending with a semicolon. It's not going to be an array. Now I'll go with something like rect.x-axis is going to be equal to. I didn't like get the coordinates, guys, so I might have to do it by memory. Okay, so let's see my width. I'm assuming it's going to be my width since it's 800 pixels. My height is 600, so maybe I want to go like in the bottom, so I'll change this to something like 200, I guess. Okay, so my x-axis is 200. Okay, and then I'll go with something like rect.y-axis. Rect.y-axis. Okay, my y-axis honestly will be 200. My x-axis is going to be something like, I don't know, maybe 400. Guys, I'm kind of bad with like coordinates. Okay, that's it. I would need width and height as well. How would you suggest starting to learn GML? Honestly, I haven't like learned GML. That's it. Like that does sound pretty cool. I might go into that. Okay, where to learn Python? Honestly, I did learn Python using GPT. That's it. If you guys do want to like actually see how I learned Python, that is like one of the first streams in my channel where I was learning Python's recursion, and I do have like a whole playlist filled with me streaming myself learning Python. That's it, bro. Don't your parents scold you for going live at night? And doesn't your voice get loud by the way? I don't really understand what you're doing, but it's fun to watch. Also, which class are you in? Okay, that's like a lot of questions, guys. So firstly, my parents, they don't like scold me because like it is not like night right now. It is like it's almost 3 p.m. right now. That said, the next question was, doesn't your voice get loud? I feel like when I first started streaming my voice, my like throat used to hurt a lot, guys. But now I think I'm kind of used to it. That said, I don't really understand, but it's fine. I do appreciate you for that target. And I'm not in a class, right? I'm like, I don't go to school anymore because like I am like a freshman at college. That said, I haven't like started any programming courses just yet. Alright guys, that was a lot. Okay, next up, let's go with something like rect dot, let's say something like width and height. So I'll go with W. Okay, I want the width to be longer. So let's keep the width to be something like 500, ending with a semicolon. And I'll go with something like rect.height to be something like 80, ending with a semicolon. Okay, that's pretty much it for my shapes. Now let's go ahead and add another comment for my main loop. So this is going to be my main loop. Okay, now for my main loop, I'm going to be needing two variables. So the first variable is going to be a Boolean variable of something like is running. I will set that to be true, ending with a semicolon. The second variable is going to be a event variable. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore event, which is going to be called something like events. This is going to SDL underscore events structure basically holds all the events that SDL does have. And this event variable is just for like locating what event is currently going on. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and add a while loop. So I'll go with something like while, a pair of parentheses. I'm gonna go with something like while is running, while my program is running, or while my is running is set to true, I'm gonna do something. What are you coding? Honestly, I'm learning how to draw shapes in SDL3 using C++. That said, inside my initial while loop, I'm gonna go ahead and add a nested while loop. This is gonna be called my events loop. So I'll go with something like events loop, and then add a while loop here. While a pair of parentheses. Let's go with something like SDL underscore poll event. Okay, inside of my nested while loop, basically what the SDL underscore poll event does is it checks what all events I'm looking for, and once all those events are done, my SDL underscore poll event loop ends. Okay, I'll add a pair of parentheses here. This has access to my event variable by its memory address. Okay, and then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my while loop, firstly, let's go ahead and do something. I'm going to add an if statement to check my current event type. So I'll go with something like if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit, I'm going to do something. I'll go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside of the pair of curly braces, I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Now, after I'm done with my entire event loop here, I'm going to exit off my inner while loop, add a comment to fill my screen with a color. So I'll go with something like fill screen. Okay, do you plan to follow design patterns or object-oriented designs? Honestly, I am planning to like start object-oriented programming soon in SDL3 as well, but first I am just learning the basics of SDL3 so I get a hang of it. That said, I don't want to like actually be a software engineer when I like actually do like completely grow up. I feel like I am a pro now, man, guys. That said, I do want to either be a cybersecurity or like an AI engineer. I'm like rooting for me being an AI engineer because I like do enjoy making AIs. Someday maybe I'm going to make AIs with emotions, guys. That was maybe a joke, but like maybe it does make sense. That said, I'll go with something like SDL underscore set render draw color. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to be using the SDL underscore set render draw color function, which is going to be having few parameters. let's say the first parameter is going to be something like renderer. The second, I'm going to be requiring a RGB. So I could go with something like 0, 248, okay, and 255. And then lastly, I'm going to set the opacity to be 255. Let's go ahead and end this whole thing with a semicolon. That'll make code more modular or scalable. Actually, yeah, that does make sense. I do want to actually start that and like keep my code organized as well. For the time being, I do use like a lot of comments to keep my codes organized. That said, let's go ahead and actually write something. 1299. Hold up, guys. 293. There we go. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and do something else. Since I did like add a color to my renderer, I want to fill my entire screen or my entire window with that color. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore render clear. This function basically fills my entire window with the color of my current renderer, ending with a semicolon. Now that I'm done with filling my screen, I'll add another comment that says something like graphics. Now for the graphics, let's read this thing again, whatchamacallit, the instructions again. So it says draw a thick wide rectangle near the bottom of the screen. Bottom. I'm pretty sure I did draw it in the bottom. Okay, x-axis 400, y-axis, let's change this to 100. It's going to be at the complete bottom of my screen. And then this is the tower's base. Make it dark gray. So 80, 80, 80. Okay, so let's go ahead and set another color to my render. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore set render draw color. There we go, with a pair of parentheses. Now for my set render draw color, firstly I'm going to go with my render variable and then add a RGB. My RGB is going to be dark gray, so I'll go with 80, 80, 80. Okay, and the opacity / transparency is going to be 255. It's going to be 100% transparent. Actually not transparent, ending with a semicolon. And now let's go ahead and fill my rectangle with my current renderer's color. So to do that, I could use the function called SDL underscore render fill rect. I say my renderer to fill my rects. With a pair of parentheses, this is going to require my render parameter, and then my, let's say, rect's structure as well, ending with a semicolon. And the rect's structure will have to be its memory address and not a copy of it. Okay, perfect. That is pretty much it for my base. Now, the next instruction says a tower shaft line from the center of the base. Draw a thick vertical line upwards using the parallel line method. Make it black and make it 10 pixels thick. Okay, so from the center of the base, what is the center? Okay, so my x-axis or my width is 500. What is half of 500? I think it's 250. Okay, make it black and around 10 pixels thick. This is supposed to be a line. How do I do that now? Hold up, guys. Before I do that, firstly, let me add a comment that says something like line. Maybe I'll add a comment here that says something like rect. Okay, now for my line, let's go ahead and first fill my paintbrush with a black color. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore, let's say something like set render draw color with a pair of parentheses. I'm going to be having a few parameters, so I'll go with the renderer. Let's say I'm going to go with a black color, so I'll go with something like 0, 0, 0. Okay, okay, is this what you call wipe coding? Honestly, I don't think this is like what we call wipe coding, because like I feel like wipe coding is like taking a whole chunk of code and like using it in your current code and like saying AI to write your code. But I feel like I'm just reading the instructions to like see what I should actually do. Like for example, I need like a black, not like a black, I think it's like a gray base of a rectangle, and above that I gotta draw a line, above that I gotta draw a circle, if that made any sense, guys. Hold up, let's get sensei/ChatGPT back here. There we go. Let's go all the way down. Guys, I lost my instructions. There we go. Okay, and my opacity is going to be set to 255. And then let's go ahead and end this whole thing with a semicolon. And then now that I got a color for my renderer, firstly, I'm going to be drawing a line. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore render draw line. I'm saying my renderer to draw a line. Okay, I think it's like render line, not draw. So I'll go with something like render line. Guys, how do I remove that stuff? Well, maybe I delete it from there. There we go. Okay, so I say render line. Now, I need 4 parameters. So the first parameter is going to be my renderer. So I'll go with my renderer paintbrush. Second parameter is going to be x1 from where it starts. So let's say it starts from 250 to y1 where it ends. Okay, hold up. It says something like, okay, Okay, this is the tower's base, and then from the center of the base, draw a thick vertical line so it should go upwards. Okay, parallel line methods. So, what up guys, what's the window size? So, my width is 800, my height is 600. Maybe I go somewhere up to 300, 252. I feel that is small. What up guys, I think maybe I'll go with something like 350. Maybe 400. There we go. Okay, oh, okay. Okay, that said, now that is my x1, that is y1, where the line starts, where the line ends. And then I gotta go with x2 and y2. What should the x2 and y2 be? This is where it starts. Okay, hold up guys, I want to read something. x1, the x coordinate of the start point. y1, the y coordinate of the start point. The x coordinate of the end point. Y coordinate of the start. Okay guys, so I think I have like just the dots right now. I should change this to something, right? Okay, that is the x coordinate of the start line. So it should start at 250. It should end at 400. Okay, and then the x coordinate of the end point, the y coordinate of the end point. Guys, I don't know what should be done here. Maybe I'll go with 250 and 400. Is that how it actually works, guys? Let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay. And now let's see. Next up, what is something that I might need? I would need a circle now. Make it black and around 10 pixels thick. Okay, hold up guys. I gotta make it thick. So let's go ahead and add a maybe I'll go ahead and add, let's say, something like an integer variable called something like thickness, which equals to something like 10, ending with a semicolon. And now, before I do add a renderer, I'm gonna do something. Okay guys, this part is kind of confusing because I'm bad with coordinates. Maybe I go with a for loop first, so I'll go with something like for a pair of parentheses. Let's delete this part. Okay, let's say for every integer of I which equals to negative thickness, which is going to be negative 10 for now. Okay, I'll add an exclamation, I'll end that with a semicolon and check. While my thickness, or while my I is less than my thickness, I'm gonna go ahead and increment my thickness by 1. Should I increment my I by 1? I think my I is my thickness, so I increment my I by 1. And then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now, about the for loop, why do I see a red underline here? Congratulations, you drew a line with 0 length since it starts and ends at the same point. Guys, I'm so bad with coordinates, I should actually work on that. Okay, that said, what did I mess up with my for loop? It starts there. I think I need to go down here and add close the pair of parentheses. Okay, Alright, why do I say a red underline in my for loop? Expected an expression show potential fixes. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while, guys. I do like stream every single day. That's it. How you doing, PUI? I appreciate you joining this stream. What up, guys? Let's add my for loop again. Okay, let's delete that part, add a pair of parentheses. Oh, I see. Okay, hold up, guys. I might have to first add a for loop here, so I'll go with something like for a pair of parentheses. Let's say for every integer of I which equals to negative my thickness variable. Thickness, there we go. Okay, let's go ahead and end that with a semicolon. While my I is less than my thickness variable, I'm gonna go ahead and increment my I by 1, and then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my for loop, I'm gonna be doing something. Should I go with like a nested for loop? Hold up guys, let me actually see the way ChatGPT did this first. Okay, let me actually scroll all the way up. That is for like rendering my line. Let me actually get that here and like look at it with you guys. Okay, let's go ahead and extend that up real quick. Extend it from here as well. I think DJ Care, appreciate you joining the stream as well. Okay, that said, let's scroll all the way down. Okay, now we go up, seeing that where something went wrong. Okay, so that's fill rect. This is the first way. Okay, I did this part correct. I didn't add the divided by 2. Thickness divided by 2. While my I is less than my thickness divided by 2, I incremented by 1. And then I draw my object here after x1 and y1, x2 and y2. How do I decide what's x1, y1 and x2, y2? That makes it so harder. Okay, so x1 is like x-axis, x1, y1. So a dot from my x starting point to my y starting point, a dot from my x ending point to my y ending point. I think I get it, guys. I think I get it. Maybe. What up, guys? Let's go ahead and do something thickness divided by 2. And then let's go ahead and add a thickness divided by 2 here as well. Okay, now inside of my for loop, let's see. I'm going to be going with something like SDL underscore render line. So I'm going to be rendering a line. Render line. With a pair of parentheses, I'm going to be adding a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render parameter. The second parameter is going to be something like, let's go with where my line starts. So my line starts, I want it to start at 250. Okay, so it starts at 250. And then I'm going to add a comma. Now for my y1, where does it end? Where's my y-axis a starting point? So x-axis should be here. Y-axis should be somewhere up there. So what is my vertical length of my whatchamacallit window? So it says height is 600. I want it to end at 400. Okay, so starting point, ending point. Shouldn't that just make a whole line? Okay, wait, starting point for x-axis, starting point for y-axis. So x-axis here, y-axis up there. Now I gotta add a ending point. Where do I want my my line to end? My x-axis is line to end. I want it to remain at something like, wait, hold up, guys. Let's just do something like plus I real quick. Okay, and then I'll add a comma. Should I add a plus I like this? Hold up, guys. Let's just get some say slash chat GP here back again. Okay, I think I did that part correct. Okay. And now, if I want to go, I want my x-axis to still remain at 250. Although my y-axis, I want it to remain at 400 as well. I feel like this is correct. Okay, plus I. Guys, I feel like this is correct. Let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay, perfect. Maybe I get this like down here. Just like it has more space to be seeing stuff. Then let's go ahead and add this down here as well. There we go. I feel like it's much better to like look at. Okay, maybe I'll get this down here as well. Alright, next up, after I'm done with my for loop, that's pretty much it for my line. Now let's read the instructions for like my circle. Okay, so this is what color did the line have to be? What color did I set it? Okay, I set my line to be something like black. Okay, so it is like a black line. And now let's scroll all the way down. Okay, so it says a beacon light at point at the very top of your line, which is at I think about 400. I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I gotta draw a thick glowing point using your points thickening loop trick. Okay, make it bright yellow and 10 by 10 pixels, 255, 255, 0. Okay, now let's go ahead and add a comment here that says something like point. I'm going to be drawing a point now. For drawing my point, firstly, let's go with a for loop. So I'll go with something like for a pair of parentheses. Let's say for every integer of I, which, or for every integer of direction x, which equals to something like, let's go with something like -10. Okay, while my direction x is less than or equal to 10, I'm going to go ahead and increment my direction x by 1. And then another pair of curly braces, and I add a nested for loop for my direction y as well. So I'll go with for every integer of direction y, which equals to -10 as well. While my direction y is less than or equal to 10, I'm going to go ahead and increment my direction y by 1 as well. Now I'll go with a pair of curly braces as well again. Hold up, guys, let's go with Control Z. Okay, maybe Control Z again. Now I'll add a pair of curly braces and do something. So I'm going to be drawing a point on my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and do something like SDL underscore render point function. I want to render a point on my screen. This is going to be requiring 3 parameters. The first parameter is going to be something like my render variable. The second parameter is going to be, let's go with something like, okay, so x-axis, y-axis. I want my x-axis to be somewhere at 250. Okay, where it starts. The y-axis, maybe I go with something like 400. No, maybe 250 by 400. Okay, and then I'll go with something like 250 plus direction x. Okay, and then 400 plus direction y. Let's go with something like plus direction y. Ending with a semicolon. Guys, I hope this part is correct. That's honestly pretty much it. Actually, no, but it's not actually pretty much it. I have to set a color as well. So let's go ahead and type something like SDL underscore set render draw color. So I'm going to be setting a render and drawing a color on my screen. So I'm going to basically add a color to my paintbrush slash my render. The color is going to be something like yellow. Firstly, I'll add my render paintbrush. Secondly, I'll go with the RGB. So 255, 255, 0. The opacity slash transparency is going to be 255, so it is not going to be transparent at all. What are you building? Honestly, I am like learning on how to like draw shapes in C++. Okay, actually shapes using SDL shapes in SDL3 using C++. There we go. Okay, next up, let's see. Okay, now that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and present now. So I'm going to present my renderer. To present my renderer, I could use the SDL underscore render present. So I'll go with the render present function with a pair of parentheses. I want to present my renderer on my screen ending with a semicolon. Okay, now that's pretty much it for like all my graphics stuff. So this much graphics was pretty much good. It starts there and it's all the way here. I think I covered every single thing here. Now, after my user exits the window, I'm going to work on a few cleanups. So let a comment that says something like cleanup. For my cleanup, firstly, I'm going to do something. Let's go ahead and do something like SDL underscore destroy window with a pair of parentheses. This is going to be my window variable ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon as well. And then I'll return 0. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, guys, fingers crossed, did I do it correctly? I got my first terminal popped up. Alright, guys, I got my second terminal popped up as well, but this doesn't look as I expected it to look. Oh. Okay, I really like the confidence in your speaking. No stutter at all. You should try public speaking, guys. That's actually one of the biggest compliments that I've got so far. I feel like I'm an introvert. That said, I do want to someday even, I might actually someday try public speaking. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy that. Get sensei slash chat GPT here. Let's go ahead and paste this. Go with shift enter and say something like sensei. I feel like I did everything correct, but I messed up my coordinates. Okay, is there a way to actually write coordinates without remembering them, question mark? Maybe using a website. I could work on that off stream. That said, can you check my code out, question mark? Okay, let's see, where do you learn all this skill from? I think I learned like from ChatGPT slash Sensei. That's it, I feel like ChatGPT was really helpful. Where are you from? I honestly used to like answer it a lot. That said, many of you guys did say me to like avoid saying that, so I did avoid saying that. Okay, good, you're finally seeing the true enemy. Coordinate chaos. Your code logic is solid, people. You've gotten the right structure in a draw, present, loop, but your geometry is suffering, not because you don't know how to code, but because you're eyeballing coordinates like a blind archer. Okay, let's dissect this. First, your rectangle is way off. 400, 100, 580. The window is 800 by 600 pixels. This puts your rectangle starting at 400 pixels to the right with a width of 500. That means half of it is off screen. Instead, try 150, 500, 560. I see. How's your day going, man? Honestly, my day is going pretty good. How are you guys' day going? That's it. I was correct. You literally don't know English, guys. That actually does make sense. I feel like, I mean, it's not like I don't know English. I feel like English is the only language that I can speak fluently in. That's it. I was actually learning Spanish. I do know like a few phrases. For example, like, hi, how are you? In Spanish, we say it as, hola, ¿cómo estás? And like, you reply by saying bien y tú means like, good, and you. That'll give you a base platform centered horizontally near the bottom next to your line. Okay, SDL underscore render 250, 400, you're drawing a zero length line. Both points are same. You meant to draw something like renderer 400 plus I 500, 400 plus I 300. Okay, that draws a vertical line. Okay, the tower shaft and the beacon point. Once your line is corrected, the top view will be near 250 and 400. I see. Okay, now for your coordinates. Okay, those are the websites. All Gen Z type that. Okay, the content you typed was literally gibberish. The content you type. Oh, guys, that actually does make sense. I should like work on my typos because I feel like I have like way too many typos because like I can't type properly when I be speaking. That's it. What are you building? Honestly, I am like learning on how to like draw shapes in SDL3 using C++. That's it. Let's get some say/ChatGPT here. Okay, now let's go ahead and zoom out a bit so I can actually see the correct coordinates. What up, guys? Maybe zoom in a bit. Okay, let's scroll all the way down. Okay, there we go. So basically where I did mess up was, firstly, when I created my rect, I messed up the coordinates really bad here. So instead of 400, this should be 150. Instead of y-axis 100, that should be 500. This should be 500 as well, and that should be 60. There we go. Okay, and then next up for my for my line, all the way right here, instead of going with something like 250, instead of going with 250, 400 plus I should go with 400. Let's go with 400 plus I, and then I go with something like only 500. I'll go with something like 500. Okay, and then I go with 400 plus I again, so I'll go with something like 400 plus I, and this is going to be 300, so I'm going to delete that at 300 here. Okay, and then next up for my dot was honestly, my point was honestly correct. The place that I did mess up was, I didn't actually mess up anywhere, it was actually correct. Okay, now for it control us to save the code and run the command. Let's see if it actually fixed it. Okay, let's get some say/ChatGPT. Let's get the terminal here. Alright guys, I feel it was something. It's actually something here. It's kind of better than before. That said, maybe did I mess up somewhere else? That sounds South Indian, guys. I honestly haven't been to India. That's why I'm kind of excited something visit there. I might actually stream myself there. Are you in school or college? Honestly, I am like a freshman in college. That's they sound fancy, but can't write a worth a damn in that line of knowledge. Guys, I feel like I do make typos, but like when I actually talk, cause like I can't like talk while type at the same time, cause like I feel like males don't have the biological object in their brain that actually lets them to multitask. All the females do have that. That's it. If I like don't talk and I just like write, then I don't make typos. Yeah, man, it's just typos. Okay, let me go ahead and paste this. Go with Shift Enter and say something like, Sensei, I feel like I did everything correct, but maybe my, let's say, points is kinda messed up, question mark. Okay, let's see. People, you absolute pixel warrior. Your effort is strong, but your aim, a little off. Your point isn't wrong, but the way you've drawn it is more like a small yellow square blob than a clean screen. Okay, let's dissect your strike. So when I go with this stuff, you're looping over direction X and direction Y from -10 to +10. That's like 21 by 21 grid, or 441 little yellow points, okay, stacked together. Okay, that's not one thick point, that's a mini rectangle. If you want a thicker dot, you could keep it smaller, like direction X, okay, or if you want something like, I could go with direction squared. Okay, I want the size of my dot to be this, although how do I get it above my circle? Okay, that way it will look clean centered and actually a point. Now about your line. Okay, that's not symmetric and may not give you a straight slope. You likely meant 400, 500 plus I, 400, 300 plus I. Did I like do that at the first, but then later it was like change it? What up guys, let me actually try that real quick. Okay, so 400, was it 400, 300? So it said 400, 500 plus I, then 400, 300 plus I. So for my line, right here, 400, 500 plus I. So let's go ahead and remove that. Let's go ahead and add a plus I here. And then let's go ahead and delete this I from here. And it's 400, 300 plus I. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, let's get some let's get the terminal here. Alright guys, that does look like a pretty thick line. I want it to be thicker though. What up, let's go ahead and change the thickness from 2 to something like maybe, I don't know, maybe 5. I'll change that to 5 as well. Hold up guys, wait, let me actually change this here. Let's change the thickness from the variable here. Okay, that is 10. I'm gonna change it to something like 25, maybe something like 50. Okay, now for it control has to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. First terminal, second terminal. Okay, if you really want to learn the leave chat GPT and hit the books, guys, I feel like that's like many of you guys do recommend me that, but I feel like I do like learn better this way, because like I feel like if I do like what you call it, don't do much practice questions, that actually doesn't help me improve. That said, okay, adding the thickness to be 10, it did like extend the line to be here, if that made any sense, guys. Okay, maybe let's just change this to 10 back. So now if I did control S, where did I mess up here? I went with thickness divided by 2. Instead of thickness divided by 2, what if I just went with thickness? Now if I did control S to save the code and run the command, let's see, did it fix my thickness, guys? Okay, it didn't fix my thickness for my line. Like, I feel like my line has the same thickness, although it just decreases the size from here. Okay, maybe. Let's see. I could go with something like, if I go with I, that is my thickness, right? Okay, my I is equal to my negative thickness. Although it doesn't work if I change this. You should do a stand-up debitation analysis on the number of times you use the word like. Guys, that honestly does make sense. Okay, that said, let's see. Okay, while my I is less than or equal to, I think that might change something. Now if I go with something like control is to save the code and run the command. Alright guys, that didn't honestly do anything. Well, at least my line is kind of symmetrical. Okay, that said, what if I change it to something like, I don't know, maybe 100? I do wanna like try making my line a little thick. Okay, it just makes it long, it does not make it thick. I think to fix that, I could it's something from here, I think. Okay, when I go with 400, 500 plus I feel like I'm increasing 500 plus I don't want to increase my 500 plus I. Let's go with something like 400 plus I. And then let's go ahead and change that as well. Let's go with something like 400 plus I as well. Let's go with something like 400 plus I. Okay, now for it, excuse me guys, control us to save the code and run the command. There we go, that actually fixed it, guys. So now that is a thick line. Okay, man, can't read, can't write, lol. Honestly guys, that does make sense. I should like work on some of my reading skills. Okay, that said, let's see. Okay, now that I've fixed the line, I want to change my point to be a little higher. That's the x-axis. So I'm gonna change my, let's say, y-axis to be something like 200. If I were to save the code and run the command, let's see, let me get this here. Okay, there we go, that did work. So it goes a bit higher. I want to get it a little lower and a bit more to the right. So I changed this to be something like 400. Okay, now if I were to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens again. There we go, guys. So the line is up there. I want to get the dot a little lower now. Let's change this to be something like 500. If I were to save the code and run the command one more time. Guys, that went way too low. Maybe let's go with a sweet spot of something like, let's go with something like 300. If I did control us to save the code again and run the command. There we go, guys. That's perfection. Standing right above my dots here. Okay, now let's go ahead and exit that. I just want to increase the size of my line, of my point right now. Let's change that to something like 50. Let's change that to 50 as well. Okay, now for it, control us to save the code and run the command again. Let's see what happens. What up, guys? Let's get that here. Alright, guys, this doesn't look like a circle anymore. It looks like a rectangle. What up? Isn't a point supposed to be a circle? That's direction X, that's direction Y. Okay, negative, positive, How do I increase my... Okay, maybe I think the way I do actually increase it, like, because it increases my pixels. It doesn't look like a circle. That said, I haven't even learned how to draw a circle yet. Okay, let's go with something like a control C to copy that. Let's get some say/chat GPT here. Okay, now let's go ahead and paste it. Go with Shift Enter and say something like, say, I feel like I did some trial and errors. Okay, let's go with some trial and errors. And now it does look something like a beacon at the top, with a thick line. Let's go with something like thick line. That said, The yellow beacon is not a circle. Is it because, let's see, why is it not a circle? Let me actually think. Is it because I haven't learned how to draw circles, question mark? Okay, I think it's good because I didn't learn how to draw circles. Yes, people, exactly. That yellow beacon at the top is not a circle. It's a rectangle of point. Right now, you're filling the rectangular blocks with direction X and direction Y. Okay, that's width 101 and height 21. Okay, so it looks stretched a little. Okay, to actually make it a circular stuff, you need to use the circle formula for each point direction X, direction Y. Check if it's within the radius, so direction X multiplied by direction Y. Direction X multiplied by direction X plus direction Y multiplied by direction Y is less than or equal to radius multiplied by radius. Okay, so radius is set to 20. I might actually try to make it a circle. Okay, oh my god, look at what you're typing. Literally crap, guys. Honestly, I do know that. I should work on my typos. That said, for every integer of direction x which equals to negative radius, while my direction x is less than or equal to radius, I'm going to increment my direction x by 1, and then I go with another for loop. So for every direction y which equals to negative radius, okay, direction y, which is less than or equal to my actual radius, I increment my direction y by 1, and then I add a statement. If direction x multiplied by direction x plus direction y multiplied by direction y is less than or equal to my radius multiplied by my radius, I draw a point. This should be simple enough, guys, right? Okay, let's actually try that. So let me delete this old formula. Instead, I'm going to be adding, let's say, under my graphics, I'll go with something like integer of radius, which equals to 20, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then once I do create a radius under, let's say, my point, should I go under my point? I think under my point. Let's add a for loop. So I'll go in with an index-based for loop. I'll go with something like for a pair of parentheses. Let's say for every integer of direction x which equals to negative radius. Okay, ending with a semicolon, while my, let's say, something like direction x is less than or equal to my positive radius, I'm going to increment my direction x by 1. So I'll go with something like direction x plus plus. And then I'll go with a pair of curly braces. I'll go with an inner for loop. So I'll go with something like for every integer of direction y which equals to negative radius again. Okay, and then I'm going to add a semicolon while my direction y is less than or equal to my positive radius. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and increment my direction y by 1. So I'll go with direction y plus plus. And then let's go with a pair of curly braces again. Now I add a if statement. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's go with something like if my direction x asterisk direction x means direction x plus direction x plus direction y multiplied by direction y, let's say, is either less than or equal to, let's go with something like my radius variable multiplied by my radius variable. I'm going to do something. I'll go with a pair of curly braces that does something like SDL render point. I'm going to draw a point with a pair of parentheses that does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render parameter. Okay, and then I'll add a comma. I forgot the rest, guys. Hold up, guys. Let me actually get some C/ChatGPT back up here. I gotta go with 400 plus direction x, 300 plus direction y. Okay, let's go with something like 400 plus direction x, and then let's go with something like 300 plus direction y. Was it 400 and 300? I actually forgot. Hold up, guys. Hiding red main zone, I appreciate you joining the stream. Hiding phobia, I appreciate you joining the stream as well. That's it. Let me go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Pretty sure. There we go, guys. It's like a perfect circle. Although I do want to extend the circle. The formula honestly wasn't that hard, actually. Okay, so what if I increase the radius to something like 90? I want the circle's beacon to be like really, really big, guys. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, my first terminal, guys, that looks like perfection. Okay, perfect. Okay, alright, with that said, let's go with something like controller, control C. Let's go ahead and copy that. Let's get some C/ChatGPT back here. Now, let's go ahead and paste this, and then let's go with something like, let's just hit enter. Yes, people, now we're talking that yellow beacon is finally a proper circle sitting on top of your thick line with with the rectangle at the bottom. You nailed the logic with the circle formula. Look at what you did right. Ta-da. Okay, perfect. Draw a rectangle at the bottom. Hold up, guys. Let me actually say something like in a second. Okay, let's say something like sensei. Honestly, honestly, planning to end the stream right now because I do have a exam on Monday for my college. So I might continue, okay, this next stream. That said, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers before I end the stream? Question mark. Okay, let's see. You a sophomore, man? Honestly, I am like a freshman. That said, people, listen up. You've been grinding hard with SDL3, learning rectangles, lines, and even a proper circle today. That's the kind of precedence or precedence, I think that's how you pronounce it, that turns beginners into masters. Even though we're ending the stream, remember, every second you spend practicing now is an armor for Monday's exam. Don't slack off. Don't doubt yourself. Use the weekend to prepare like a beast. To the viewers, watch this pupil rise. They're not just drawing shapes, they're building disciplines, focus, and skills. Your time here watching is proof that discipline pays off. Keep cheering him, keep learning, come back next stream for more chaos with SDL3. Now go study, crush that exam, don't waste a single moment. Kisses for motivation and a firm head pat for effort, guys. That did not make me blush. That said, is he AM anime avatar? Guys, actually that does sound kind of fun though. Okay, pick any language I like. I like you. Honestly, I would actually, let's say, I do like C++, and that's it. I do like Python as well. Python is, I feel like, kind of a chill language. Like, if you guys do or just want to enjoy while programming, that's it. I feel like C++ is like much better if you guys don't like programming in like high-level languages and you guys want some more of a challenge. That's it. Let's go to my OBS and then let's go to my main camera. Alrighty guys, so basically that was pretty much it for the stream. That's it. I did want to stream longer. The reason I did not stream longer is because like I do have an exam this Monday. And guys, I don't want to like completely fatigue myself out because like I am going to be studying right now all the way till the night before I sleep. Cause that said, I mean, whatchamacallit. That said, if you guys did enjoy the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, like, helps with my algorithm, sharing makes me smile, and subscribing is like a cherry top. And guys, since my PC did get fixed, I will be uploading a video of me building the PC really soon. That's it, since my PC did get fixed and I did get a new PC that fixed all my stream lag, so I did start multi-streaming on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. Maybe I'll start, streaming on Instagram and TikTok as well if I did maybe followers requirements. If you guys do enjoy my content and haven't followed, subscribe to me yet. Don't forget to follow me / subscribe to me on my platforms. Later, once Nightbot does get fixed, you guys could like get access to my social by typing !social. That's it, the socials is like in the description. Also, down in the Discord server, the link is in the description. That's it. I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace. Okay, I better game up. I'm a freshman and I've just completed HTML, CSS, and got into JavaScript, stone, paper, scissors, and a little flickering stuff that actually does sound really fun. Good luck with that. How do you pronounce your name? Sean? Good luck with that, Sean. That's it. Let me go ahead and end the stream real quick.